Well, this is the end. Welcome to the last episode of United Opposition. That is right. This is the last one. We'll explain in just a moment. Here we go. Mike, thank you for joining me on this show. Typically, it would be myself and my friend Marshall. But since I just told you that this is going to be our last one, Marshall has decided that he does not want to be doing any political talk or debates anymore. And that was kind of the limit of what he said. And so I'm not going to speculate about anything else or talk any more about it. It's just he's not going to participate in this. And so without a person in opposition, I can't really have a show called United Opposition. So this is going to be the last show. Mike, I appreciate you being on here just so I have somebody to talk to, because I don't do well talking by myself on a show. But this is it. This is the as far as this format of people, two people in opposition to each other trying to be united in talking. This will be the end of this show. I don't know what's going to happen going forward. If there's gonna be another show or anything like that, that's all kind of up in the air right now. I'm a little sad. I'll be honest. I'm very sad because I feel like this is the moment in our country where we need a show like this the most, where we need to set an example to show people that you can be in opposition and still talk. So, Mike, thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, it's a privilege and an honor always to be with you, Scott.
Where everybody can kind of see why you're in the place where you are.
Yeah, no, I'm down in Orange County right now. I've been doing a bunch of work down here. As many people know, I travel on a dang near daily basis. I've been down in Orange County since yesterday, and I'll be here through the end of tomorrow, and then I'll be up in Sacramento on Thursday, flying out to Phoenix for the memorial through the weekend. And then I'll be back Tuesday. I'm back in Orange County, and then so all over the
car right now in Orange County.
That's right. I got to make it work, but there's a lot of really cool developments coming down the pipe. Love to share them as soon as I'm able to. Of course, I'll share more of that with you, Scott, as they develop first. But it's kind of crazy. It's a little bit disappointing to see, like you said, at a time when we probably need a show like this the most.
Yeah.
We're losing it. And it's sad to see the divide in our country. And it's just like, it's been a divide for a long time, but it's like, it's a chasm that's opening wider and wider and wider, and people are picking sides. And, I think fortunately, many people are choosing the side of truth and the side of godliness.
I think the divide has always been this wide. I think the difference is when I was younger, in the house that I grew up in, we had a swimming pool, and every once in a while you would see ants travel across the pool, and they would literally just go into the water and pile on top of each other to build like decks made of ants so that the queen could go across the water, and it would like little islands made of ants. And I pictured that right here when you said that. I think the gap has always been this wide, but we had people in the middle who were willing to be in the middle and and hide that divide. Like, I kind of like, I kind of like what the conservatives are doing. I kind of like what, the left says and everything like that. And now this event has made it to where everybody's like, no, I am actually picking a side. And we're now seeing the divide, but I think the divide was always there. It was just covered up by people who were thinking they were in the middle, and then realized they're not.
What I'm encouraged by the most is the fact that there's this, while there is this divide, there's also this revival, right? And I've been seeing it with my own two eyes in cities across California, even since the middle to end of last week.
Yep.
And like, people are coming back to Christ, which is, I think ultimately the biggest honor to Charlie, as his life was a testament to Jesus, regardless of the fact that many on the left would say, oh, baloney or whatever. It's the truth, because had that not been the case, people would not be returning to churches in the way that they are. And I've talked to many pastors who have said they've been seeing near or even at Easter level church attendance.
Our church on Sunday, where I attend, our church on Sunday had the largest attendance of any non-holiday in the 10 years that the church has been at that location, and 110 hands for invitation across the day, across 3 services. 110 people said they wanted to make a decision for the Lord on one Sunday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, which constituted not quite 10% of all the people who showed up.
Wow.
Yeah, a little less than 10% of the people who attended raised their hands for invitation. And so I thought that was really amazing, that God is doing something in the midst of this. And I it's funny, I stand on kind of one side. I know a lot of Christians kind of like to talk a little bit of this, like, using Christian speak and being like, I don't know that God necessarily causes bad things to happen. I don't know that this was necessarily his plan that Charlie would die so that this would happen. I mean,
I wouldn't say that for a second. No, absolutely not.
I mean, some people like to say, well, this was part of God's plan. Like, you know what? Romans 8:28 doesn't say that God plans it. He says that he turns everything for the good. So whether it's good or bad, if something that happens, I don't know that God planned it, but I know that God is powerful enough to turn it into something good. To say this is going to change and this is going to turn into something good, and that's how I see that. I saw what happened to the church you and I grew up in 20 years ago when my dad died. Interesting, my dad was also named Charlie, but when Charlie Garcia passed away 20 years ago, my dad passed away 20 years ago, it changed the church. The men's ministry and everything. The biggest thing was because my dad had the gift of prophecy, and a lot of people would go to my dad for a word from God, and I think that God turned it around, and it was like, now you need to get a word for yourself. You need to come straight to God, and it changed the church. It changed the pastors there, and it changed the people of the church. I don't think that God took my dad away to do that. But I think that God turned it around and said, okay, we'll take this loss and turn it into a gain.
Yeah. And, one of the biggest questions I've been getting, Scott, I talked to, as you know, I talked to a lot of people up and down the state, talked to a lot of different age ranges, talked to, high school and college age kids, talked to, elderly people and everyone in between. And what I'm hearing some people say, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's definitely a percentage of, I've heard it more than once. People are afraid, right? Afraid of what might happen. Some people are afraid to speak up, and I know my answers to those questions, but I'd be interested to hear what would you say to those that are out there that are like, man, I'm afraid of, just potential attacks or violence or whatever. What would be your advice, Scott?
To be honest, I would have to look and say, for each individual person, the way that I'm going to equate that is, I never chose to serve in the U.S. military. And so and that was just a choice that I didn't want to make that choice. I didn't want to make that sacrifice. It makes me appreciate more the people who are willing to make that sacrifice. And I don't know that every person on the right, every person who has seen what's happened and is seeing this swell, I don't know that every person is going to have the personality. I don't want to say it doesn't have the courage, but it's maybe not have the personality to live on that principle and say, no, I'm going to stand up and be more. But I think that the people who are already dedicated to that, the people who are already part of, in the middle of making comments or in the middle of being in the public eye, I think people like you and I are going to step up and be like, no, this is where we're going to stand up. We're not going to be afraid. We're not going to be silenced. We're not going to be put down. But I don't want to say anything negative about people who are like, I don't want to be in that position. I don't want to put my life in danger, and I don't want to say things. I get it. I don't want to put them down. I think now is the time to say something. And now, for me, I see this as a time to really actually speak up. Like things that I would have been like, I'm going to let that go. And I'm not going to let it go anymore. I'm going to be more vocal. I'm going to say more. And because I'm not gonna live in fear, but at the same time, I don't think that Gotta silence that one. Sorry about that. Mike sent me a text a little bit ago saying that I might have to invite him in. Here we go. Let's see that way. Remove. So which one do I add? His battery was dying on his laptop in his car. So it says remove. So it says you're there. So I don't want to remove you. So let's go back. Yeah, I'll let you do it. You're controlling it on your computer. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah. Oh, I think I hear you. You just might have to add to stage. Oh, you might have to. There we go. There you are. Are you on your phone now?
Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, no, my
That's right.
all of my stuff is getting used like tremendously. So
Oh
it's like,
my gosh.
It's always dead.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I get it. But yeah, so this whole thing, I know you wanted to come on. I know you want to kind of, you requested to see if you could be part of this. I want to make sure that before any other batteries die, I want to make sure you have a chance to say what you wanted to say by being on here.
Yeah, well, what I really wanted to say is, first of all, Scott, I'm honored to have been a part of this journey with you and Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saddened by the fact that it's no longer going to be, but as we said, God turns all things for His glory, right? So why would we expect anything less even from this, right?
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
God has. This is a new chapter for 511. This is a new chapter for Scott Garcia, and we're going to see the direction God takes us.
Man, absolutely. So I going off of the question that you had before and the things that we were talking about before, I see we're talking about that divide. We're talking about, the really needing what we need as far as having this conversation and still seeing the humanity of people on the other side. And I think the lack of that humanity is what caused this to happen. I think that caused this event to happen with the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, was brought on by people not seeing humanity on the other side, people falsely giving labels to someone and people believing those false labels and feeling that they need to carry out and take action against those false labels. And so that's where we are. And I feel like there has to be some kind of change. Because we were all as people on the right, we were like, we don't like cancel culture. We don't like cancel culture. But how many of us are really cheering on all these people losing their jobs because of their comments on Charlie Kirk? Does that mean we do like cancel culture now? I don't know.
No,
what is there a difference? What would you say is the difference, Mike?
It's not the same thing as cancel culture. And it's of course this conversation is probably gonna get like super shadow banned on all the socials, but someone who is cheering on a political assassination of, as Glenn Beck put it, one of the people that you and I used to listen to quite a bit, Scott.
Yep.
The political assassination of a civil rights leader. And I've seen people in comments on some of my content recently, says, well, Charlie was against civil rights for Black people. Excuse me, do you realize that Charlie was the leader of the largest minority civil rights, minority grassroots organizations in probably the world, certainly of the United States?
Yeah, Blexit.
Yeah.
And maybe explain it for people who don't know what that is.
So, really, it kind of started from Blexit originated as a term, Black exit from the Democrat Party, but it kind of evolved into more than that. And it was, really, one of the core fundamental values of that organization was promoting conservatism, but also promoting, family, right? Especially amongst minority groups, but and it wasn't.
Charlie really stood on that, like fathers in the home. Fathers in the home is going to fix the social problems. That's what's going to fix the social problems, getting fathers back in the home. And so the whole because not because we stand on anything like, well, racist thoughts of like, well, Blacks just can't be families. No, it's just on the idea that like 75% of Blacks grow up without a father. And it's like, that's causing a problem. And that's what Blexit was kind of started off as, let's leave the Democrat Party, but also, let's address the actual problem with this community and people within that community addressing the problem within the community. And that's what Blexit was. Still is.
Right. Still
that's
is. And I think that organization has had a large influential impact across the country, and they will continue to do so with their leadership. They have great leadership over there. But for anyone to say, something, they certainly don't know what they're talking about.
No,
disappointing.
And I'm curious what actually can be done, because I really feel like something now needs to be done. I really feel like the somebody coming out and saying you're a Nazi, you're a racist, you're a fascist. I feel like that is dangerous. That's dangerous speech. But do I really want to be a person who stands up and says that speech should not be allowed? I mean, what does it come down to? I know that we already have some legal limits on things that can be said, and I was thinking about it today, and I'm wondering if that speech is legally liable to be, and I feel like if you're going to make an accusation, if you're going to say that person is a racist, that person is a Nazi, that person is a fascist, I think that the person saying that should now have to pay for saying that, because that is libelous. That is you're making a personal attack on someone based on false information. It is a lie. You would be slander if you're saying it, but once it's published, once you're saying it on a tweet, once you're saying it on a video, once it's posted and out there in a published form, that's libel. That is, libel is not just print. Libel is published. And nowadays published, you post that on Facebook, you put that as a tweet, you put that out there. I think that's where I feel like where I wasn't as much be like, whatever. If they're going to say, they're going to say. Now I feel like if somebody says that, if you're on the right and someone says, well, you're just a fascist, I think sue them. I think make them pay for that libelous.
Well, here's a challenge with that, Scott. Have you ever been called that?
I can't think of an instance. No.
Okay, I have many times.
Yeah.
First of all, are you surprised?
No.
But the
not because of you, but because of them.
Right. No, exactly. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
But when you have so many people calling you, like you're just going to be in court all day long. It's just going to become your entire livelihood of just suing people. So you can't. It's not realistic to sue every single person who says something. Now, if it's a high priority person, maybe make an example out of them.
Mm-hmm.
High profile person is what
the problem isn't the high profile people. The problem is the little people hidden behind their keyboards. The problem is those people who are making those comments, and people are seeing that and feeding off of that. I do think it should be something. I think the threat should exist. At least the threat should exist.
The threat technically does exist, right? But
nobody's pushed it. We need to start pushing it.
Well, the other thing is, so you start going after those people. Those people don't have any money. They don't even probably have jobs, most of them. So,
I don't care about getting money from them. I want them. I don't need to.
No, my point in saying that, Scott, is so who's going to pay for the attorney bills? Not the people you're suing. You're going to be paying for them all day long.
Well, maybe that's something that needs to be created. Maybe that's a foundation that comes up, and that's something that maybe we should get behind and support. Something that holds people accountable. You will be held accountable if you make a libelous personal attack against someone. If you say that person's a racist, so and so, it's posted, so and so is a racist.
Well, so I think this is just now kind of like dialogue, thinking out loud. But where you would go with that is not really necessarily pursuing the individuals on the platform, but say it's either Meta or Reddit or wherever, but it'd be the platform owner that would you'd have to go after them.
The platform owner isn't the person saying it.
What's that?
The platform owner isn't the person saying it.
Yeah, but the platform owner is responsible for allowing the people to say it, right? So that's in their own private square. It's not a public
I
square.
I didn't like those attacks. I didn't like that strategy when it was against us, so I can't really stand behind that strategy if it's against my opponents.
Well, but there's a difference, right? Like if you're calling someone words that result in assassinations,
Mm-hmm.
then that should probably not be allowed on the platform. So if you're gonna make any progress at that, you're gonna have to pursue the platform itself, not necessarily the individual.
Because the difference that I've been thinking about, the difference between is okay, so somebody's going to say that we say hate speech. If you say there's only two genders, that's hate speech. If you say that, if you say that a man can't be playing women's sports.
Well, if something's based in reality, Scott, that's free speech. You're calling someone a word that's not even frankly true.
Well,
okay, now you got to define that.
Right, but again, the difference I think is we say there's only two genders, or if we say that transgenderism is a mental illness. All right. We're not calling a person a thing. We're not directing it at a person. Well, when you say it's a mental illness, okay. So what if it is? And what if we are saying that? What is the expected outcome? What are we trying to say? What if I'm saying this is a mental illness? What's the outcome I'm hoping happens? The person gets help. The person gets therapy. The person, the person, if I believe they're suffering a mental illness, do I want them beat up? Am I saying this person is suffering a mental illness? The obvious answer to that is for what? To beat them up? To kill them? No, the obvious answer is maybe a person needs help. Maybe a person needs therapy. These type of things. But when you say that person is racist, that person's a fascist, what's the outcome you're asking for? You're asking for an outcome of violence. You're asking that those people are silenced. What do we do with racists? What do we do in our society with Nazis and fascists? What do we want done with them? And I feel like the outcome that we expect to have from what we're saying, I think is the differentiator, that when you make a personal attack and say somebody is a racist, is a fascist, is a Nazi, the outcome that is implied is they need to be silenced, beat up, or killed. That is not the same. That is not the same outcome that is being asked for when someone says, "Hey, we don't want men in women's sports. I don't want men in my daughter's locker room." All right, so that I think that's a kind of a mental illness. Maybe they need to get some help. Am I asking for them to be beat up? Am I asking for them to be killed? Am I asking for no? That's not the fix for mental illness. Whereas the fix for Nazis and fascists is to beat them up, kill them. That's the assumed fix. So we lost Mike. I'm going to see if he's going to try to be able to come back on. I know that this isn't working as well as we wanted, but me personally, if Mike comes back on, we'll have him join back in here, but we just got a few more minutes. I just wanted to, really kind of emphasize what I'm trying to say. Before last week, before the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, before this person was consistently lied about, it was consistently, intentionally lied about who he was. People would say he's a fascist, he's a racist, and all these things that were objectively not true. That any listening to any conversation that he had in its entirety, listening to a complete conversation that he had from a point of view, you would recognize that the sound bites they were playing were absolute lies. They were lies that were intentionally spread. The reason I believe they're intentionally spread, that the people they knew they were lying, because all these same people, all the people who were saying these things, this guy's a racist, comedians making jokes about him being a fascist and a racist and homophobe and all these type of things, saying all those things, when he was murdered, they are now all saying, well, hold on a second. We realize that this was an innocent man. We realize that this should not have happened. We realize that this guy didn't deserve to die. Why didn't you realize that before when you were saying lies about him? See, you knew they were lies. You knew that it wasn't true. You knew that you were saying things that were not true, but you didn't think that someone would actually kill him for it. But you didn't stop you from saying things that are untrue. And then realizing, wow, somebody took us up on it. Somebody took us up on it, and they carried out the thing that we were encouraging. We were telling them he's a homophobe. Has hate speech. He hates gays. He hates transgenders. He hates any people of color. He hates them. He's a Nazi and wants to control. All of these lies that they said. Once he was murdered for those lies, the people who used to tell those lies were like, well, he shouldn't have been murdered for that. So you knew the whole time that you were telling lies. You knew that it wasn't actually that. You knew it wasn't what you were saying it was. And I can't imagine that, all of the institutions, all of the public institutions. Let's see if we can add Mike back into here. Where's my mouse? Here we go. Let me add you back in, Mike. You back there?
I'm back. Sorry about that.
Don't worry. I don't know if you heard anything that I said, but I'm just going to continue on what I was saying real quick, that the people who said all these lies knew they were saying lies. The people who said all these things about Charlie Kirk, they knew it, because once he was killed, once he was murdered over somebody believing these lies, the people who used to tell the lies were like, whoa, hold on a second. He didn't deserve to be murdered. He didn't deserve to get that. And they're all, you and I were talking on the phone, Mike, about, can you imagine a week ago if the New York Yankees had said, hey, we're going to have, a night where we're going to celebrate Charlie Kirk. If a week ago, before he was killed, there would be an uproar. You can't do this for this racist, this bigot, this hateful person, everything. Then he gets murdered because people believed that. And they're like, we're going to hold, and everybody say, yeah, no, that's good. That's reasonable, because he didn't deserve to die. Everybody, all these people knew. Maybe not everybody, because there's people who cheered it and really did believe that about him. But the majority of the people who were in that middle, that I talked about, that chasm that used to be that flotilla of ants that would float in the middle of the chasm there, they all realized, wow, no, there is a chasm, and we're not going to be anywhere near the other side. And they all realized that. Did you think that the 49ers would have a moment of silence or any type of thing for Charlie Kirk, the New York Yankees? Do you think that Jon Stewart or Bill Maher was going to come out and say, hey, Charlie was a good guy. Hey, you shouldn't have go. All these people who would spread these lies about him knew they were lies, because if they really believed he was actually a racist, if they really believed he was just like those people who are losing their jobs because they're going on social media saying, yay, Charlie's dead because a racist is dead. If the people in the news, if the people, the owners of those companies, the people, the Jon Stewarts and the Bill Maher, if they had really believed that he was actually a Nazi, then they would be cheering it too. But they knew he wasn't. Even though they spread the lies, they knew he wasn't. When push came to shove and someone was killed over these lies, they realized, we can't be telling these lies. It's just sad that somebody had to die for them to realize that. But I think all the people in the middle who were like, well, maybe, I don't know who Charlie Kirk is, I don't know this, or I've heard all these things. Yeah, maybe. Then they're like, whoa, no, there is a difference. There is a difference.
Yeah. Well, I think especially the more high profile, prominent individuals, they hold a certain level of culpability to this, right? I'm not saying pull the trigger, but certainly they said a lot of things that weren't true that led to this. Yeah.
And it's just a wonder. I found this video on YouTube, came across it. Did not hear this person before. He's got 700,000 subscribers, something like that. His name is Amir Odom. I don't know if you've seen the video that he posted, like an hour-long video about the lies about Charlie Kirk that were told. Amir Odom is a black gay man who became a YouTuber and started a YouTube channel because he met Charlie Kirk at an event. And Charlie Kirk says, you need to get your voice out there. This is back in 2018. 7 years ago, he told this black gay man, you need to get your voice out there and start your own podcast, start your own YouTube channel. And now this person is out there, has 700,000 followers, and made an hour-long video where he goes through all the different controversial things. That he doesn't believe in empathy, he doesn't, that he's a racist, that he, the whole gun, it's worth it. That all the quotes that people are pulling out of context, he goes through and plays the whole thing in the entirety, answers everything. This is a black gay man in support of Charlie Kirk, who has a channel because Charlie Kirk said you should have a channel. I mean, that it's so obvious that the lies that people believe were lies, and it's so obvious that the people who spread them knew they were spreading lies, because now they're all shutting up.
But yeah, there's still people who are still saying these same things.
No, they are. That's what I'm saying. It looked like it was 50-50. it looked like, well, it's not that much of a divide because there's people in the middle. And now the people who were kind of okay with saying the lies, and well, what's going to happen? We'll say the lies for political gain. We'll say these lies. We'll go and promote. And then when they saw that he got killed for those lies, those people were like, no, that's not really. Those are the ones who didn't back down, who are the ones who are cheering. And those are the people who actually believe the lies. Yes, there are those who believe the lies, but this is the switch that we're seeing. We thought it was evenly split across the country. And you and I are seeing it is not evenly split across the country.
No,
it is not no more. That now that we actually see, now the country has seen where that divide is, and that divide is a bullet in somebody's neck. That's where the divide is. And there are people who say, yes, bullet through the neck. And we're realizing that's where the divide is. No, we're coming way over here. And then we're realizing that the majority of Americans are not on that side.
Well, and I'll tell you that, they did what they always do, which, always ends up backfiring them. And I'm gonna elaborate on this a little bit, Scott, but they overplayed their hand. And when I say they, first of all, we say, well, the far left, right? But really the far left as a tool of the real enemy, which is spiritual forces of darkness.
Yes.
And I want to make a point to make that clear, right? Because I still engage with people, like even in the past few days, that I disagree with, and we'll continue to do it in love, tell the truth in love, and the enemy is not those we disagree with.
No,
right? The enemy is the spiritual forces of darkness. Now, are there people that are just being incredibly manipulated by those spiritual forces of darkness to say incredibly, frankly, evil things? Absolutely. I mean, you're hearing it, right? But where the true source of those things is, our battle is not against flesh and blood.
Yeah. At the same time, though, I am no longer going to be a person who just lets those comments slide.
Right.
If I'm with somebody and like, yeah, well, that person's just a Nazi, I'm going to say, like, so you want them killed? Like Charlie Kirk? I'm going to call him on it. I'm going to call him.
I think we should. I absolutely think we should.
Yeah. Because that's what their crap is leading to. You're going to spread lies about a person to call them that. Oh, so you want them dead? Because that's what we do to Nazis, right? We beat them up and kill them. That's what you want? I'm not going to just let those comments go anymore. That's what's changed in me through this, is like that kind of rhetoric. It's always been rhetoric, but now it's murderous rhetoric.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Scott. What has changed inside of us, right?
Yeah.
Because and I've done a tremendous amount of reflection over the past week, and I was always one who would speak up and say something. You know that.
Yeah.
But what's changed inside of me, and I think that there's many who would fall into this camp, and Charlie would be incredibly honored to know that that's the legacy, right?
Yeah.
But I'm examining, who am I as a Christian? Am I living up to the values that God's called me to live up to? And I certainly would say, and I think everybody would say this at some point, to some degree or some level. Not always, right?
No.
Am I living up to the level of man that I should be? Am I living up to the level of husband I should be? The type of father I should be?
And let's be honest, Charlie didn't live up to it either. Nobody's perfect. We can't falsely venerate a person and in that way either. My dad didn't live up to that either. Nobody can.
Right, certainly. But I think the one thing you can say about Charlie is he tried his best to live as godly a life as he could, just like your dad.
Yep. Absolutely.
So that's been the challenge to me personally. Like, are you walking in the way that you should be? And certainly every single one of us have to answer at some point in time, to some degree or another, no. But I'm going to
self-examine.
Better.
You're going to self-examine. And that if we're going to end on anything right now, that's what it is. Because I'm gonna bring up the Stephen King comment, how he tweeted a lie about Charlie Kirk, and then he apologized for it. Good for him. He apologized for it, and he apologized for saying it. He says it was untrue. I repeated something that was untrue. I'm sorry. Okay, that's great. But the fact is, you didn't stop yourself before it. You didn't look, you were willing, you were okay with not checking if you were spreading a lie. That is what has to change. I understand you found out, Stephen King, you found out that you said a lie and you apologize for saying a lie. That's fine. Okay, whatever. But what needs to change is stepping out and not checking it. We all need to check ourselves. We all need to, is that true? Is that true? It's funny. I posted on something today because somebody was talking about a person online. I'm like, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true about that person. Let me look it up. And I realized before I posted anything that they were talking about another person who had a similar name. I was confusing the two names. I'm like, I don't think that person is like that. I'm going to go on there and challenge them and say, and I go, but let me just double check. Does he really think that? I didn't think that he did. And when I looked it up, I'm like, oh, that's a different person. Never mind. Double check yourself before you post something. Doubt yourself and check it. If there's anything that we can all do before you say anything, doubt yourself and check it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, we've gone our 36 minutes. Normally we go about 30 minutes on the show. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, Mike. I don't know if maybe you and I want to do something, or I don't know. I can't make an announcement or say anything right now. But this show has come to an end. United Opposition has come to an end. And unfortunately, what I was hoping that I could be part of something that led an example to people on how to communicate. So I'd love to be able to find another way to do that.
Well, I can say this, Scott. Are there any official plans or announcements that we can make yet? No. However, what I can say is, I'm continuing to do content, and this is not the last that you will see or hear of Scott.
Yeah. Thank you. But this has been the end of United Opposition. Thank you for everyone who joined us over the times. And please, please, please love your neighbor as yourself. The person on the other side of the keyboard, the person on the other side of the aisle, they are a human being.
That's right.
Talk to them and treat them like a human being. This has been United Opposition. God bless you guys.
God bless.
Yeah.